Is Destiny poised to be the next landmark video game, or will its hype quickly fizzle away? I'm Ghost Robo, and let's find out. So the Destiny beta is under wraps, book closed, done, and I'm here to give you my full review. First off, if you don't have time for that, the quick and dirty 30-second version is that Destiny plays great, it looks great, it's a lot of fun to run around, level up, gain stuff, unlock new abilities. I think the environments are interesting, I think the enemies are kind of cool. There's a certain addiction to playing this kind of game, especially being a first-person shooter, but I'm worried about the breadth of content. I'm worried about the longevity with only 5 explorable locations, with the gear seeming kind of sameish and dull. How will we be 10, 20, 30 hours down the road? I think Destiny has a ton of potential. I'm really looking forward to seeing if it can excel and succeed on all of its promises, but I am a bit worried about some points. That's the basics, that's the quick, that's the dirty, but I think that Destiny, being such an anticipated game, deserves a much more thorough look, so that is what we're going to dive into right now. And we'll start with the good points. Basically, I had a lot of fun with all of my hours in the Destiny beta. I think it plays great, I think it looks great, and I've heard some people complain about the gameplay and that they don't feel it's tuned just where they want it, but for me, it's tuned perfectly. This is possibly my favorite controlling shooter ever. Just the pure act of moving the crosshair, pulling the trigger, hitting a target, knocking them down, like that feels so good to me, and I feel like I have more success in Destiny than majority of other shooters, and it just, I don't know, I think it's very smooth, it controls really well, and I have no complaints there. It's also very pretty. It definitely is strapped by being a cross-gen title existing on both the past platforms and the new platforms, but it looks really good. They make up for maybe not the best graphics we've ever seen, with some really, really incredible skyboxes and some really good art design. I think the environments that we've seen, Old Russia, the moon, even some of the multiplayer Crucible stuff on Venus, it's intriguing. I think that there's a certain mystery and just a certain, I don't know, like lived-in quality that these landscapes have. You feel like events occurred there. You can sense that there were battles, and it just has a very spacey feel. Like that whole theme of planetary travel is really cool. It's something that, sure, it's a typical sci-fi trope, but when done well, like that can be incredibly engaging, and there's just such an allure to like traveling from planet to planet and seeing what they're like hundreds of years after the normal human civilization has passed. We have a strange fascination with post-apocalyptic worlds, and this one isn't doom and gloom. It's very bright. There's a lot of colors, and Bungie infused plenty of their style into that kind of deserted landscape. I think that the enemies are fun to fight on a first-time basis. I'm not sure how it works out when you see the same respawning group 5, 6, 7, 8 times, but on a first run-through, like it's an enjoyable time. Like you have a good time running around and fighting either solo or with your friends. I enjoyed the game playing some of the co-op strikes. I enjoyed the game playing by myself. In fact, I think I kind of like it more because there's more satisfaction by your lonesome. When you're in a lone wolf and individually traversing, you get to kill everything. You get to be the one who's in charge. And sure, some of the strikes and raids obviously are going to require multiple people, but I really enjoy being at the helm of my adventure and being the one who's kind of moving forward and progressing at my own pace. And I like that Destiny allows for both. It seems to be tuned where you can play with multiple people to tackle some of these public events, and you can also play by yourself in order to enjoy kind of that campaign style. And it's just, I like RPG elements. I've always been waiting for a MMO-styled game to merge the first-person shooter and incorporate RPG elements. It's fun when you go from level 2 to 3 and unlock your super. It's fun when your guns unlock a new perk and help you, reload your grenade faster, or gain more ammo for your assault weapons, or however that goes. It's really, that is satisfying. It's fun to kill the guys, and then it's also fun to reap the rewards. And I am worried about how many rewards there are. I don't really think that what we've seen of character trees is fleshed out enough to last for hundreds of hours or what they're hoping for. But based on what's in the beta, like I definitely like that model. I wish there were more abilities though. It seems like you're kind of set to have a projectile, a grenade, and then a super. And that projectile is kind of tied into your melee, so I'm not sure if I even count that. But I wish there was like, all right, now you have to press square and triangle to do another ability, not just swapping out your grenade, not just swapping out your super, which you're able to do, but another ability so your character is more of a true RPG MMO type character rather than just a first-person shooter character with a little ability on the side. But like all in all, in terms of positive stuff, I'm very excited for Destiny. I'm very hopeful that the game will turn out to be everything everyone has hoped for and dreamed for. I don't think it will 100%, but I hope it reaches 80, 85% of that. And I gotta say, like, right right away, I enjoyed the first moment I created my character. I think the character creation is very good. There's a lot of fun hairstyles, some awesome looking characters. Bungie, you can tell that these are the makers of Halo and that they've now created sort of a new Halo, because the enemies and the characters look like they could fit in the Halo universe, but they're not. So you get that quality, you get that feel without being handcuffed to Master Chief and all that jazz. So like I loved playing the game. Any complaints I have, any concerns I have are merely because I want the game to be more successful, but I really liked my time with it. And just to briefly touch on the competitive, I didn't think I would like the competitive. I never thought competitive would really be a focus for Bungie. I was kind of shocked and surprised that they directed so much attention and focus in that avenue, because I thought this game was mostly about cooperation and about going through their environments and fighting the AI. But the Crucible gained a lot of steam during this beta, and it turned out to be something that a lot of people really enjoy. The fact that you can play it as sort of standardized, leveled out characters, or you can have those differentiations, bring your own stats in via like the Iron Banner stuff, was a very cool system, and people seem to really glom onto that. And I did like playing the multiplayer. I don't think I will be spending countless hours in the multiplayer. It's a cool way to earn some different weapons and maybe do something different if you're getting sick of the sort of campaign content, but I see myself sticking more on the cooperative side of things, on the single player side of things. I did like it though, it impressed me. I'm a big fan of Halo's multiplayer, and the one thing I'll say is I feel like there was a little bit more like, oh my god, whoever sees the person first shoots them and dies, like type mechanic here, and maybe they can tweak some of the health or whatnot, but it's fun. Crucible is cool, and it definitely exceeded my expectations. So like all in all, I'm very hyped for Destiny. I've got the Ghost Edition pre-ordered. I rarely ever pre-order anything, but I want that extra pack. I want to get the expansions. I love playing the game. Now, I have some concerns, and so we're going to go through them. The first being, I'm concerned about the variety, and we've heard reports. First, it was 22 story missions and only one raid, and now it seems like the new talk is that they have dug through the beta files and found 32 story missions, 23 strikes, 5 areas, 2 raids, and 11 multiplayer maps, which is a good chunk of content. I will say that the 2 raids seems pretty low, and the 5 explorable areas is what has me the most bummed out. When Destiny was first talked up, when we first saw the concept art, when we first heard about a lot of these things that the game would be, you know, it got us thinking. And even sites like IGN posted things in their guide about, oh, here's the areas on Earth. There is, you know, old Russia, there's a Mumbai area, there's a Chicago area, there's a Europe area. And whether that was the initial plan and then it got sort of scoped down, or they never planned that, or they're just thinking expansion packs years down the road that they can charge you for, those areas are not in the game. Old Russia is the Earth area, the Moon area is the Moon area, and each planet will have one area that you go through. Now, these areas are very large, as we saw from Old Russia. There's plenty of paths and different areas and places to explore within that set destination, but it is disappointing in every way, because what was talked up was that Bungie was making one of the biggest games ever, that every planet would be the size of a Halo game, and that all these different places you'd go around and fight all these different, you know, varieties of enemies, and you tackle this and tackle that, and it's basically all interconnected in kind of a smallish way. So your strikes take place within the environment of Old Russia. You know, you go on that Sepix Prime Devil's Lair strike, and that is an area you can access just roaming around Old Russia. So we're limited in terms of where we can go. This is not the true intergalactic game that I think many people were hoping for. It's more of a, I don't know, what's smaller than intergalactic, like a galaxy level game, but I don't even feel it reaches that breadth. I think it's more of a global, but I mean, there's multiple planets, but it just, I don't know. You get what I'm saying. It doesn't feel like it really reaches out into sort of the stratosphere that Bungie seemed to be shooting for and that they seem to be convincing us of. And I think the same kind of can go for the characters and the loot, at least what we've seen thus far. Granted, this is a beta and they promise more variety in the full game. I understand that, but I can only speak based on what I've seen. And from what I've seen, the gear is disappointing. If they're going to say that the gear is going to be one of the main like differentiators for players, the main allure to keep playing beyond the level cap and whatnot. So far, I've seen like different colored boots, different colored chest plates. And I know that there's some very legendary gear that has like a cool cape or it has like a dragon crest on it. But I think in a game like this, you have a real opportunity to make people really unique. I think you have an opportunity to have like vulture wings, to have giant crowns, to have metal spikes, to really go all out and say, if you're going to play this game, we want you to be a unique, differentiated character, and to feel like from level 1 to 20 or whatever the cap is, 30, I don't know, you look massively different. To me, that acquisition of new armor, and to then see your character running around the tower, or, you know, when they do their super, and have your friends be able to witness your glory is awesome, and I don't get that sense. To me, there is not much drive to get red boots. I don't really care about getting red boots. I want boots that have, you know, razor blades coming off of them, or have, you know, golden freaking fish jumping off. I don't, like, why not go all out with that? Why not go crazy? And I understand they're trying to stay true to a military, futuristic space, you know, astronaut, whatever type look, but I really think there's plenty of opportunity to add a bunch of craziness, and I hope that there's some of that in the full game. With the characters themselves, I wish there was more abilities. I touched on this earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but I would like there to be more that you can do, and I personally prefer the ability tree where you get to pick what your points go into, rather than, oh, you're just using this and it's going up. It's a little more concrete when you get to choose and you feel like, oh, I leveled up, I got this point, I can now spend it, I'm defining my character. And again, this kind of goes hand in hand with the loot and gear. I don't feel like there's much character definition happening here. I feel like there's little variations and bits and bobs that are going on to, you know, make you slightly, you know, changed, but is it really a true character transformation? I don't sense that. Perhaps there's more character ability tree that we haven't seen, but I can't imagine them just like, oh my god, we've got this 50 ability tree out of nowhere. That's not going to happen. So that is a little bit, you know, on the concern side. A few other points are that these enemies, right? The first time you fight them, you're like, oh, they're flanking. Oh, they're here. Oh, but the 7th, 8th time you fight them, you realize that they spawn in the same area and they kind of behave the same way, and the fight plays out almost identically. And people are saying, oh, Ghost, it's way more fun with friends, and you're not thinking about it, you're just talking. And I guess that's true. Like, okay, sure, it's more fun to play with friends than to play by yourself, but that doesn't really let them off the hook. That doesn't really excuse the fact that you're going to be running in one area on Earth, and the enemies are mostly going to be in the same exact spot and the same routine, and sure, they're leveled up, but what joy is there in repeatedly killing foes, especially when the difficulty is very arbitrary? Now, this might be, I don't know, this is a concern that I have. Many people might just ignore this and not even care, but something that concerns me with a game like this, and it's not just Destiny, it's many shooters in general these days, is that the difficulty is formed merely by statistical overwhelm. So they make Destiny difficult a couple of ways. One, they make the enemies a harder level, in which case they're just bigger bullet sponges. Or two, they throw more enemies at you, in which case you're overwhelmed, and so your skills are, you know, quote unquote tested because you have to deal with more at once. But from what I've seen, there isn't a lot of, oh, a more difficult enemy. It's all the same action, I'm just doing it for longer. So when I fight Sepix Prime, it's not like Sepix Prime, who is the big boss from the strike we got to play in the beta, is difficult to fight. It just takes a long time. When I fight the Devil Walker, which is the big robotic beetle creature that we've seen in both a public event and in the strike mission, it's not that he's tricky to fight, it's that it just takes a lot of time. And so I feel like much of Destiny's difficulty is an exercise in patience. If you run out there, you're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to get shot and killed, but you respawn in 3 seconds or 4 seconds or whatever it is, so there's no real penalty to doing that. Sure, there are darkness areas where you cannot respawn, and that's pretty cool. I like that. That adds a little bit more, you know, you have to be careful. You have to be worried. There's more adrenaline rush in that instance. But typically, why are you going to wait behind cover when you can just run out, get some shots in, die, respawn, your friends can pick you back up? And I just don't like the fact that so far the enemies we've seen are bullet sponge type enemies that do not do anything different. You're not required to attack them in a different way. I feel like even Halo has a little bit more of that in terms of how the grunts behave, the elites with their armor, the snipers with their shields. You're required to kind of change up your strategy, and I didn't see any of that in the beta. We're promised many more enemy types on other planets, and also, you know, they assure us that the raid bosses are different than anything you've ever seen in shooters. So I'm hopeful that they can create some encounters that pull and test our skills in different, unique ways besides just damage over time. I think that's a little bit of a stale mechanic, and I think it gets old kind of fast. And perhaps this game is meant to just be a testing ground for something bigger in the future, but I was led to believe, and I think all of us were led to believe, that Destiny was it. It was the big kahuna. And so the fact that it's now shaping up like, well, this is the initial offering and then the rest of it comes later is a bit disappointing, I'd say. They do have 2 expansion packs that are supposedly coming pretty quickly. You get them for free if you buy the Ghost Edition. It's just part of the package. It's not really for free, but they're going to be, I think, $20 each. I'm sure they'll do some sort of season pass. They do promise a lot of content. You know, I heard Luke Smith, who's one of the lead designers, talking about we're going to be doing these daily events, which is cool. There's going to be new things happening. So perhaps the beta is just a microcosm of what Destiny truly plans to be. And it's not so much about its content, but it's more about its activity per se. So like not that, oh, old Russia is so massive, we have all these areas, but we're going to be throwing variety and offering up cool loot on specific days, offering a chance for you to win this, or the raids are going to be so dang fun that you're going to want to keep pressing, just like Firefight was back in the Halo ODST days, that you just want to get to the next area, you want to get to the next wave. That could be, and that would be awesome, and I seriously hope for that. The other thing I think needs a little bit of work, and I've been told that the missions we played were straight out of the game. So that is the opening cutscene we get. That is the flow of the missions. That is how it goes. I do think there needs to be more story context. Like, it's cool to hear Peter Dinklage telling us, oh, go over here, go save this. But why are we fighting? What's really happening? You know, like you see this mysterious hunter character. She's like a dark hunter in 2 cutscenes in the beta, and there's no context given. Is that going to be given in the future? There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of story being built. And I think Halo, for being a, you know, guns blazing shooter, really excelled on creating an interesting, intriguing world that was backed up by a cool plot and you cared about the characters. I don't see them establishing any sort of emotional attachment here unless they drastically do something different in the final game, because landing your Guardian and going with your Ghost is cool and whatnot, but I don't even know what we're doing there. I understand we're this darkness and this traveler and this speaker, but like, why? What the heck? What's the overall focus and context? And I think the plot needs a lot more foundation in order to really get me going. Perhaps that'll be in the final game. The last thing I'll say on sort of the negative is that the side missions are kind of a joke. They're very repetitive, and I felt very boring, but that's kind of a MMO trope. Side missions and stuff are pretty boring. Although Borderlands did seem to traverse you around in a more interesting fashion, where it's like, oh, you gotta get 10 dreg scales, so go kill 10 dregs, or you got to get this information off these enemies, so just kill 10 random enemies and they'll drop the information that you need. So I guess all in all, here's what I have to say. Destiny is a very cool game. I really love it from a mechanical standpoint. I played games back on the NES. I played games on the Super Nintendo. I obviously play games now on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but I love that Destiny seems to nail the mechanics. I'm a very mechanical driven game player. Like, I like Mario a lot. Not so much because, oh, it's Mario, but so much because it controls so well, it's spot on, and you never have to worry that the actual hands-on controller experience is going to be poor. And I think Destiny delivers in that standpoint. They've really fine-tuned, for me, a near-perfect experience for a first-person shooter. I like jumping, I like running, I think it all controls really well. I hope that the size and scope can really surprise us. I hope that there is enough content there, because I would love to play this game through September, October, November, December. I'd love to be hyped for the expansion. Many games these days, by the time the DLC comes out, I've lost interest, I've lost intrigue, I've lost hype, because it's been so long and so much else comes out, and it's hard for games to hold interest. It's hard for them to really capture your time. You know, it's all about, do I want to give my time to Destiny? And I thought one of the reasons we would give our time to Destiny is because there'd be so many areas, and they would continue to introduce new areas with new bosses and new storylines. And I would want to then go to the far seas of Jupiter, and if Jupiter even has seas, I don't know, but go there and explore this new threat. I thought that would be such an awesome way to introduce DLC or introduce new events. It would be cool if they tossed in small little areas just for free, like, oh my god, this cave opened up. And I think they have the potential to do that. And there are expansion packs coming, and so maybe they're going to drip feed the content. It's going to cost a lot of money. It definitely will if the expansion packs run $20. Let's say they do 6 expansions, 5 expansions. That's another $100 or more. You maybe get a season pass, save a few bucks, but it is going to be an expensive affair to continue playing Destiny. There's no subscription fee, so that's cool. But I definitely was hoping for more initial content. 32 story missions sounds better than 22, though, so I hope that's the case. And, you know, we just kind of have to wait and see. I'm not going to make a final judgment. I'm not going to say this is a 10 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. I think it could very much fall anywhere within that range, depending on how it plays out beyond what we've seen in the beta. It's going to be interesting to see how the leveling up really works in the game and how that feels and how the pacing is. It's very critical to get the timing in this game right, because you don't want to feel like you're being dragged along, but you also don't want to feel like you're rushing through. So that balance is something I have confidence Bungie can strike, and I'm just waiting to see confirmation that they actually do. And I don't know that we will get a full review on day one of Destiny. It's something that playing through the first few levels is not going to reveal everything that the game has to offer. The true test of Bungie's latest comes beyond the level cap, beyond the story missions. What happens after that? Sure, it's great to create a fun shooter campaign. That's something that many people enjoy and plenty of people go out and buy. But how does the end game exist? How do the raids and the strikes figure into all of this? How does the cooperative nature... I guess I just really wish that there was more story focus, because my dream game is a space exploration game with shooting and leveling up and story. And I think if they could introduce, say, a weekly storyline, like I said, like, oh my god, this cave opened up and there's this threat, or holy crap, these people are trapped inside, this building, there's a poison leak and you have to go, like, that would be so awesome to me to go pay. Even if I had to pay, I wouldn't even mind paying $250, for these little side missions, if they were engaging like that, not like, well, Guardian, we have to go stand on top of this building and gather data on this area. Thanks for supporting our cause. Like, no, I don't care. I don't want to do that. That just feels like I'm doing menial tasks like cleaning my room for my mom when I was 15. So I don't know. We're left in the dark on a lot of this. The darkness, like even the darkness, the doors you see. Some doors are supposedly going to be open in the full game that were closed in the beta. Some are just respawn points. Some can be opened by your ghost. It's hard to know. I entered areas on the moon that said, this is the, whatever it was, and there was nothing there. And it's like, am I below it? Is this just closed off? So there's a lot of question, and a lot of people are assuming one thing or assuming another, and I wish Bungie would just come out and say, this is what it is, but they don't seem to want to do that. They don't want to seem to get in front and say, here's how much content we have, which makes me nervous, because if you had a ton of content, wouldn't you just say, hey, we got this, simmer, don't worry. So I'm sure they're doing their own PR management and their own, thing over there, and that's cool, and I hope that it can deliver. Like I said, I love the game. I really do. I'm going to be playing the heck out of it. I'm a dreamer, I'm a hoper, and I want them to have the best game ever, because that would make me excited and just feel like a kid again, and that's what I want. So that's why I'm pointing out these flaws. That's why I'm pushing for something awesome, because I want everything to be an 11 out of 10, and that's just my personality. And nonetheless, I think it's a cool game. If it turns out to be an 8 out of 10, I will still play it and love it and involve you guys. We're going to do strikes and raids and get into it, and I hope that it's something that we can say in February of 2015, hey, let's jump in for a game of Destiny, because this is so dang good. And that's something that a lot of games are not able to capture. In fact, very rarely does a game capture that. And Bungie specifically has said that they wanted a game that would exist far beyond the typical shelf life and lifespan, and not just in a multiplayer competitive context of a hardcore group that's fighting it out, over on Halo 4 multiplayer, but within a cooperative, a campaign, a world experience sense. And that is something that console games strive for, and I don't know if they've ever truly achieved. So Destiny is taking bold steps in a very right direction, I think. And maybe this will be the true hit that they hope for. Maybe it will need some work. Maybe a year down the line, Destiny will come together as the game that we initially were excited for. I'm just giving you my honest opinion and where I think things are headed, but I think you're going to be pleased with Destiny on launch day. I don't know that you will be perfectly pleased, and I am a bit worried that they blew a lot of hype on the beta, but I think that with a proper, marketing campaign, with some more leaks of details, and with a very polished final product, Destiny has a chance to be a really remarkable title. So guys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this review. Like I said, please understand that while I made criticisms, I really, really like Destiny. I enjoy playing it. You can ask anybody. I have a blast with it, and I really, honestly cannot wait for September 9th. So let me know your thoughts on the Destiny beta and what you're hoping for in the final game, how you think things are shaping up. And if you're excited for it, hit that like button. I'll be bringing you guys content leading up to the game, and then we'll be playing the heck out of it. I'm super, super pumped for that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for sticking through. If you watched the whole video, you're awesome, and I appreciate your time. So until next time, everybody, have a fantastic day. Drink some hot chocolate, and we will see you all later.